Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something powerful today. Success doesn't start with what you add to your life. It starts with what you remove from your life. You can't step into your future carrying the dead weight of your past. You can't run a marathon with anchors around your ankles. And you certainly can't build the life of your dreams while holding on to things that are poisoning your progress. You want the cheat code to success? Detoxify your life. Some of us are walking around with toxic habits, toxic people, toxic environments, toxic thoughts, and we wonder why we feel stuck, why doors won't open, why success seems so far away. It's not because you're not capable, it's because you're contaminated. Hear me, success is attracted to clarity, not clutter. When you clean out the junk, you make room for the jewels. Detoxify your mind, because negative thinking is the loudest liar in your head. Detoxify your circle, because you can't soar like an eagle while hanging out with chickens. Detoxify your habits, because every daily choice is a brick in the foundation of your future. Your breakthrough doesn't require a miracle. It requires a cleaning of your schedule, a cleaning of your priorities, a cleaning of your environment. And when you remove what doesn't belong, what does belong will finally have space to show up. So today, I challenge you, don't just ask yourself, what do I need to do? Ask, what do I need to delete? Don't just look at what to chase. Look at what to let go. Because the fastest way to succeed is not always adding more. It's subtracting what no longer serves you. Detoxify your life and watch how fast success starts looking for you. When most people think about success, they immediately think about what they need to add: more skills, more opportunities, more knowledge, more contacts. And yes, growth often requires addition. But let me tell you the truth, before you add, you must subtract. Imagine trying to fill a glass that's already overflowing with dirty water. You can keep pouring in fresh water all day, but until you dump out the old, the glass will never be clean. Success doesn't start with adding more. It starts with removing what doesn't belong. Think about your life like a garden. If you want your flowers to grow, you don't just sprinkle seeds on top of weeds and hope for the best. You first pull out the weeds. You clear the soil. You make space for the good things to take root. The same principle applies to your career, your relationships, your health, and your dreams. You can't stack blessings on top of blockages. Subtraction clears the ground so success can grow. The problem is, subtraction is hard. We're conditioned to believe that more is better. We pile on commitments, pile on responsibilities, pile on expectations, and then wonder why we're exhausted. But the real power lies in learning how to let go. Let go of the unnecessary. Let go of the distractions. Let go of the false obligations. Success comes not from having a crowded life, but from having a clear one. Look at some of the most successful people in the world. They are not necessarily the ones who know the most, but the ones who know how to focus the best. And focus is a subtraction skill. It's the ability to eliminate noise, cut through the clutter, and say, this stays, that goes. They don't try to be everywhere, do everything, or please everyone. They prioritize, they strip down to the essentials. They understand that success doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing less, but doing it with power and precision. Here's a practical example. Imagine carrying a backpack. Every day you throw something in, some books, some tools, some rocks. Over time, that backpack gets heavy. You're moving slower. You're sweating more. You're drained. Then someone comes along and says, here's a new tool that will help you succeed. But instead of taking something out, you just cram it in. Eventually, the weight breaks you down. The breakthrough doesn't come from adding another tool. It comes from lightening the load. Subtraction also applies to your mental space. You might be holding on to outdated beliefs that you're not good enough, that you're not smart enough, that success is for other people, but not for you. These beliefs are heavy baggage. They take up room in your mind. And as long as they sit there, there's no space for new beliefs. Beliefs that empower you. Beliefs that remind you that you are worthy, that you are capable, that you are enough. Success starts the moment you subtract those lies and replace them with the truth. Sometimes subtraction means saying no to invitations that drain you, saying no to commitments that don't align with your vision, saying no to people who only take but never give. Every time you say no to what doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to what does. That's subtraction in action, cutting off what dilutes your energy so that your energy can flow where it matters most. And understand this, subtraction isn't about loss, it's about gain. It's not about emptiness, it's about space. Space for growth, space for clarity, space for peace. When you learn to subtract, you free yourself from the weight of excess and you position yourself to rise. Because success doesn't begin with how much you can carry. It begins with how much you're willing to drop. Every single one of us is influenced by the company we keep. Whether you realize it or not, the people around you are either fueling your fire or throwing water on it. They're either building you up or tearing you down. They're either pushing you forward or pulling you back. Toxic people don't just affect your mood for a moment. They can poison your vision, cloud your judgment, and drain your potential if you let them. You know exactly who I'm talking about. The ones who always have a reason why your dream won't work. The ones who criticize but never contribute. The ones who see your passion and try to shrink it down to their level of comfort. They are like anchors tied to your ankles. No matter how hard you swim, they keep pulling you under. And the truth is, you can't fly when you're chained to dead weight. Here's something powerful. Not everyone who came with you can go with you. Some people were only meant to be a part of your past, not your future. And if you try to drag them into your destiny, they'll sabotage it. Not because they're evil, but because they can't handle the light you're stepping into. Your growth exposes their stagnation. Your progress makes their excuses uncomfortable. And instead of rising with you, they'd rather pull you back to where they are. Think about your energy as a battery. Every interaction either charges you or drains you. There are people who, after just 5 minutes with them, you feel inspired, encouraged, and alive. And there are others who, after 5 minutes, you feel heavy, tired, and doubtful. That is no accident. That's the power of influence. If you stay around drainers too long, eventually even the strongest battery goes dead. Now listen closely. This doesn't mean you stop loving people. You can love people and still limit access to your life. You can forgive people and still create boundaries. You can care for people without carrying their negativity on your back. Protecting your potential doesn't make you selfish, it makes you wise. Because if you allow the wrong voices to dominate your space, you'll never have the energy to walk into the future that belongs to you. Sometimes toxic people aren't strangers or acquaintances. They can be family, childhood friends, even people you've known your whole life. That makes it harder, but it doesn't make it any less necessary. Because destiny doesn't ask for permission. It requires decisions. You have to decide that your peace matters, your purpose matters, your dream matters enough to limit the influence of anyone who poisons it. Ask yourself, who am I listening to? Who has my ear? Who gets my time? Who gets my energy? Because the truth is, whoever you consistently expose yourself to, you eventually become like them. Show me your circle, and I can predict your future. If you want to know where you're headed, look at who you're walking with. And here's the reality. When you start removing toxic people from your life, you create space for the right people to enter. People who believe in you. People who push you to do better. People who remind you of your greatness when you forget. The subtraction of toxic people makes room for the addition of empowering people. That's when your potential stops being drained and starts being multiplied. Success is not an event, it's a lifestyle. It's not something you stumble into one lucky day. It's the byproduct of what you repeatedly do. Every single habit you carry is either building your future or breaking it down. And the most dangerous thing about toxic habits is that they often look small, harmless, even invisible, until one day you wake up and realize they've built a prison around your potential. Think about it. You don't fail because of one bad decision. You fail because of the small, repeated decisions that compound over time. Hitting snooze instead of showing up, scrolling for hours instead of studying for minutes, complaining instead of creating. Those moments don't seem like much on their own, but like drops of poison in water. Over time, they contaminate everything. Toxic habits quietly rob you of the future you could have had. On the flip side, winners aren't just defined by talent, they're defined by the habits they practice when nobody is watching. That's why two people with the same ability can end up with completely different outcomes. One person chooses discipline, the other chooses distraction. One person invests time, the other wastes it. One person builds habits that empower, the other entertains habits that weaken. And it's not destiny that separates them, it's daily decisions. Here's the truth. Toxic habits don't announce themselves. They disguise themselves as comfort. They feel good in the moment, but they cost you in the long run. Eating whatever you want, skipping workouts, procrastinating, surrounding yourself with noise, putting off what matters. Those things may bring short-term relief, but they guarantee long-term regret. Success demands you pay now so you can play later. Toxic habits let you play now, but you'll pay for it later. Ask yourself, what are the habits that keep robbing me of progress? Is it the habit of procrastination? The habit of negative self-talk? The habit of living in the past instead of planning for the future? The habit of reacting to life instead of designing it? Because until you identify them, you can't change them. And here's the painful truth. Your habits are stronger than your intentions. You can want success all day long, but if your habits don't align with your goals, you'll never get there. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're climbing a mountain. Every step represents progress, but toxic habits are like rocks you stuff in your backpack. At first, one or two don't seem so heavy, but as the climb gets steeper, the weight grows unbearable. And some people give up, not because they weren't capable of reaching the top, but because they never removed the unnecessary weight slowing them down. The good news: habits can be replaced. Just as you built toxic habits one choice at a time, you can build powerful habits the same way, one choice at a time. Replace procrastination with preparation. Replace excuses with execution. Replace gossip with growth. Replace laziness with learning. Every time you trade a toxic habit for a winning one, you shift your life closer to the success you've been dreaming of. And don't underestimate the power of small changes. 1% better every day doesn't feel like much in the moment, but over time it compounds into transformation. Toxic habits slowly poison. Positive habits slowly heal. What you do consistently will always outweigh what you do occasionally. That's why success isn't a secret formula. It's simply a pattern of healthy habits that keep unlocking doors others can't even see. Your mind is the control center of your life. Everything you do, everything you say, everything you become starts as a thought. That's why toxic thoughts are so dangerous. They don't just stay in your head. They shape your habits, your actions, your results, and ultimately your destiny. If you keep telling yourself you're not good enough, eventually you'll stop trying. If you keep telling yourself it's impossible, you'll never see the opportunities that are right in front of you. The battlefield of success isn't out there in the world. It's in here, in your mind. Understand this. A toxic thought repeated enough times becomes a belief. And once it becomes a belief, it dictates your behavior. If you've convinced yourself that you're a failure, you'll sabotage your own progress to stay consistent with that belief. If you've convinced yourself that money is evil, you'll subconsciously push away opportunities to create wealth. Toxic thoughts are like viruses. They infect your system until your potential can't operate at full power. Here's the tricky part. Most toxic thoughts don't even come from you. They were planted by other people. Teachers who doubted you, friends who laughed at your dreams, family members who told you to be realistic. Over time, their voices became your inner voice. And now you're fighting ghosts, battles that aren't even yours to fight. That's why you have to take back control of your mind. Because until you do, you'll keep living a life that reflects someone else's limitations instead of your possibilities. Think about this, your mind is like soil. Whatever you plant in it will grow. Plant toxic seeds, fear, doubt, insecurity, and you'll grow weeds that choke your potential. Plant powerful seeds, faith, confidence, resilience, and you'll grow a harvest of opportunities. The soil doesn't care what you plant. It just returns what you sow. That means the quality of your future depends entirely on the quality of your thoughts today. And here's the truth. You can't always stop negative thoughts from coming, but you can stop them from staying. A thought may knock on your door, but you decide whether to invite it in and let it live with you. Toxic thoughts only gain power when you entertain them. If you let them sit long enough, they unpack their bags and move in. And once they move in, they start dictating what you can and cannot do. Ask yourself, what toxic thoughts have I been entertaining? Thoughts like, I'm too old. I'm not smart enough. I don't have the right connections. It's too late for me. Those thoughts are lies disguised as truth. They sound convincing because you've rehearsed them for years. But just because you've thought them doesn't make them real. The only power they have is the power you give them. Here's what makes toxic thoughts so destructive. They don't just affect one area of your life. They spill over into everything. A person who believes they're unworthy in business will also struggle in relationships. A person who thinks they're always behind will never appreciate the progress they've actually made. Toxic thoughts don't stay in one corner of your mind. They spread until they poison your outlook on everything. That's why the greatest detox you can ever go through is a mental detox. You can change your environment, you can change your habits, but if you don't change your thoughts, nothing changes permanently. Success starts in the mind. If your thoughts are toxic, your future will be too. But if you begin to clean out those lies and replace them with truth, you create the mental environment where your greatness can finally breathe. Clarity is power. When you know exactly what you want, where you're going, and why it matters, the universe, opportunities, and even people begin to align with your vision. But when you're unclear, when your goals are vague, your direction is foggy, and your priorities are scattered, you confuse yourself. You confuse others and you repel success. Success doesn't chase confusion, it chases certainty. Think about a GPS system. If you punch in a clear address, it gives you exact directions, step by step, until you arrive. But if you just type somewhere nice, the system can't guide you. That's how life works. Without clarity, you drift. You waste energy, you waste time, you waste years wandering in circles. But the moment you get clear, your mind, your habits, and your decisions begin to line up and work for you instead of against you. Most people don't fail because they aren't capable. They fail because they never decided what they truly wanted. They say they want success, but success in what? They say they want freedom, but what kind of freedom? Financial freedom, time freedom, creative freedom. Without clarity, your energy is scattered, and scattered energy is wasted energy. When you're unclear, you chase everything and catch nothing. Here's the truth: clarity requires honesty. You have to stop living by other people's expectations and start asking yourself, what do I really want? Not what your parents wanted for you. Not what your friends think is impressive. Not what society tells you is acceptable, but what you want. Because until your dream is yours, you won't have the passion, the hunger, or the fire to pursue it when life gets tough. Clarity also brings focus. Imagine holding a magnifying glass under the sun. If you just wave it around, the sunlight spreads everywhere and nothing happens. But hold it steady on one spot, and that same light becomes powerful enough to burn through paper. That's what clarity does. It takes your scattered effort and turns it into concentrated fire. And fire creates results. But here's the problem. Most people are afraid of clarity. Why? Because once you get clear, you're accountable. If you say, I want to write a book, now you have no excuse not to start. If you say, I want to build a business, now you have to take action. Vagueness feels safe because it gives you an excuse to procrastinate. But clarity demands commitment. That's why so many people avoid it, even though it's the very thing that unlocks their success. Ask yourself, what do I want in the next 12 months? What do I want in the next 5 years? What do I want to become in my lifetime? Write it down. Get specific. Don't just say, I want more money. Say, I want to earn $100,000 a year doing work I love. Don't just say, I want to be healthy. Say, I want to weigh 180 pounds with energy and strength to run 5 miles without stopping. Clarity turns dreams into targets, and you can't hit a target you can't see. And here's the best part. When you're clear, you become magnetic. People see your direction and either get behind you or get out of your way. Opportunities show up because clarity allows you to recognize them. Resources flow to you because others trust people who know where they're going. Clarity doesn't just change your mindset, it changes how the world responds to you. Your environment is either pushing you forward or holding you back. It's either inspiring you to rise or conditioning you to settle. You can have the greatest talent, the strongest willpower, and the biggest dream, but if you're stuck in a toxic environment, it will suffocate your potential. Just like a seed needs good soil, water, and sunlight to grow, you need the right environment to thrive. Think about it: place a seed on a concrete floor and it will never sprout, not because the seed is defective, but because the environment is wrong. Too many people walk around thinking something's wrong with them, when the truth is nothing's wrong with the seed. It's the soil. They're planted in an environment that doesn't feed their growth. And then they wonder why nothing is happening. Look around at your surroundings. Does your environment inspire focus, or does it breed distraction? Does it encourage creativity, or does it crush it? Does it support discipline, or does it invite laziness? Your environment speaks louder than your intentions. You can want to grow all day long, but if you're constantly surrounded by negativity, clutter, or chaos, it will be an uphill battle. Environment isn't just physical, it's also emotional and social. The people you live with, the conversations you have, the energy in your home or workspace, all of that shapes your mindset. If you're around people who always complain, sooner or later, you'll find yourself complaining too. If you're in a space where there's no order, no vision, no structure, it will bleed into your habits. Your environment leaves fingerprints on your future. And here's something powerful. You don't have to wait for a perfect environment. You can create one. Clean up your space. Organize your desk. Put reminders of your vision on your walls. Surround yourself with books, tools, and resources that fuel your growth. Start changing your circle by connecting with people who inspire you, even if it's through podcasts, videos, or mentors from afar. Little by little, you can create an environment that pulls you towards success instead of pushing you away from it. We often underestimate the silent influence of environment. You think you're making decisions out of pure willpower, but in reality, your surroundings are guiding your choices. Keep junk food on the counter, and you'll eat it. Keep your phone by your bed, and you'll scroll it. Keep clutter everywhere, and you'll stay distracted. But change the environment. Replace the junk food with fruit. Put your phone in another room. Clean your workspace. And suddenly, success feels easier, not harder. Ask yourself, if a stranger walked into my environment today, what would they assume about my priorities? Would they see evidence of growth, discipline, and vision, or would they see chaos, distraction, and procrastination? Because the truth is, your environment is a mirror. It reflects who you are becoming. If you want to change your life, start by changing the space you live and work in every single day. Remember this, you don't rise above your environment, you grow to match it. If your environment is small, your thinking will stay small. If your environment is filled with inspiration, excellence, and order, your life will begin to rise to that level. Success doesn't just come from what's inside you. It also comes from where you've planted yourself. Show me the 5 people you spend the most time with, and I'll show you your future. Your circle isn't just your company, it's your compass. It points you toward where you're heading, whether you realize it or not. If you surround yourself with small thinkers, you'll start shrinking your dreams to fit their comfort zones. If you surround yourself with visionaries, you'll start stretching yourself to match their level. Your circle sets your standard, and your standard sets your ceiling. Think about this. If you want to get in better shape, you hang around people who are disciplined with their fitness. Why? Because their energy rubs off on you. If you want to get wealthier, you learn from people who understand money. Why? Because their mindset lifts you higher. If you want to stay stuck, then stay surrounded by people who gossip, complain, and settle. Because make no mistake, you will absorb whatever environment you're consistently exposed to. The truth is, your circle is contagious. Attitudes are contagious. Energy is contagious. Vision is contagious. That's why you have to ask yourself, who am I catching energy from? Are they inspiring me or infecting me? Are they lifting me or limiting me? Because you can't expect to live a championship life while keeping company with people content with mediocrity. Your circle will either challenge your limits or defend your excuses. And here's what many people miss. Your circle doesn't just influence what you do, it influences what you believe is possible. If everyone around you is broke, struggling, and complaining, you'll start believing that's normal. But if everyone around you is building, growing, and succeeding, you'll raise your belief of what's possible for yourself. Your circle expands or shrinks your vision. It defines the size of the dream you dare to pursue. Sometimes upgrading your circle means outgrowing people you love, and that hurts. But understand this, you don't have to cut people off to grow. You just have to change the level of access they have to you. Some people move from the front row of your life to the balcony. You can still love them from a distance, but you don't allow their limitations to set the tone for your future. Protecting your circle is protecting your ceiling. This is why mentorship is so powerful. A mentor isn't just someone who teaches you something. They raise your ceiling by showing you a new standard. They live in a reality that you didn't even know was possible. And by proximity, they stretch your imagination. When you spend time with people operating on a higher level, you realize that impossible is just a word, not a fact. Ask yourself, who's in my circle right now? Do I have people who challenge me to be better? Or do I have people who let me stay comfortable? Do I have people who celebrate my growth? Or do I have people who feel threatened by it? The answer to those questions will tell you why your life is where it is and where it's heading. Because at the end of the day, your circle is the silent architect of your destiny. You may not notice the influence day by day, but over years, it becomes undeniable. You can't outgrow your environment if you refuse to outgrow your circle. Your friends determine your frequency, and your frequency determines your future. Let's be honest, detoxifying your life is not easy. It sounds good. It feels powerful when you say it, but when it comes time to actually do it, that's when the fear sets in. Because detoxifying means letting go. It means cutting ties with comfort zones, breaking patterns you've lived with for years, and sometimes walking away from people and places you thought you could never live without. And that takes courage. Courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. Courage means you move forward even though you are afraid. Fear whispers, what if I lose them? What if I fail without this? What if I can't survive without that habit? But courage replies, what if I win? What if I grow? What if I step into the life I was created for? Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to trust the future more than the past. Here's the truth: detoxing your life feels like tearing something away, but in reality, it's setting yourself free. Think about a bird in a cage. That bird might resist when the door opens because the cage is familiar. The cage feels safe. But the bird was never meant for the cage. It was meant for the sky. Detoxifying requires courage to leave the cage of comfort and step into the risk of freedom. Sometimes the hardest part is detoxing from people, because relationships carry history, emotion, and loyalty. But courage requires you to ask, is this person part of my future or just part of my past? If someone continually drains your energy, disrespects your boundaries, or sabotages your growth, it takes courage to create distance. Not because you don't care, but because you care too much about your destiny to let it be destroyed. Detoxing also means confronting yourself. It takes courage to admit, this habit is holding me back. This excuse is costing me opportunities. This mindset is poisoning my progress. Most people avoid that confrontation because it's uncomfortable. But nothing changes until you get honest with yourself. Detoxifying requires the courage to take off the mask, face your truth, and say, oh, I refuse to let this version of me stop the greater version of me from being born. And courage is tested in the moment of decision. Do I keep eating what makes me sick, or do I choose what makes me strong? Do I keep answering calls from people who pull me down, or do I put boundaries in place? Do I keep procrastinating on my dream, or do I take the first step today? Every act of courage detoxifies your life a little more. Every brave choice creates a ripple that moves you closer to freedom. Understand this: detoxifying will make you feel lonely at times. It will make you feel misunderstood. It will make you feel like you're walking through fire. But courage reminds you that fire doesn't just burn, it also purifies. The discomfort of detoxing is temporary, but the reward of living free is permanent. You can't get to the next level without passing through the door of courage. So if you feel afraid, good, that means you're on the edge of growth. Courage isn't about waiting for fear to go away. It's about deciding your future is worth more than your fear. And once you take that courageous step, you'll realize the chains holding you back were never as strong as you thought.